Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show is my buddy from NFL Network at Move the Sticks, as well as a podcast and show by the same name with Bucky Brooks. He is Daniel Jeremiah. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. I had coffee this morning, but I'm not so sure that I really needed it.
I know, right?
Football weekend.
Greatest weekend of football ever, correct?
I've never seen anything like it, and my phone was blowing up from people inside the league. Just everybody wanted to talk about it. I mean, even though it's not their team involved in it, it just was unbelievable.
Well, is there a moment or a result that had your phone blowing up by other evaluators and other folks in the league that you're tight with? Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I think the end of Bills Chiefs. It was just blowing up, just kind of the takeaway of just how incredible the two quarterbacks were, being first and foremost, and then maybe some befuddlement of how some of the end game stuff was done from Buffalo's standpoint, scheme wise, on those last two plays.
How so?
That seemed to be the one. Well, just they were protecting, and somebody even used this exact phrase, so I want to steal it from them on Twitter, but they were protecting against the touchdown, not a field goal. And I posted the play, the last one to Kelsey. Everybody knows it starts with the squib, right? Should have squibbed it, take some time off there. That's the first mistake. Then you get the quick pass to Tyreek Hill with two blockers. So, now they're in a pretty good position. Well, now you've got 8 seconds left. You have got to hold up, reroute, whatever you need to do with Kelsey. He's singled up over there on the single side over there. And you get home with your four-man rush. But so the ball actually has to come out quick from Mahomes, but you didn't impede Kelsey at all. So instead of, if you reroute him a little bit, get your hands on him at the line of scrimmage, even if it's one of your rushers, before he rushes, he just has to knock him off his route a little bit. He's not going to be able to travel that same amount of distance to make that such a makeable kick. But they gave him a free pass, and he even said it after the game. Kelsey said, look, they're softing off. So they're softing off. I've got a free run at it, so I'm just going to run to the seam. And wasn't even the play that was called, but him and Mahomes were on the same page, and Mahomes put it right on him. They made that way too easy for Patrick Mahomes at the end of the game.
Well, I mean, and it's something I'm going to delve in a little bit more later on. For Bills fans, it's tough to take, but the silver lining, it's not even a silver lining, it's the whole damn sky being blue. Right, that when we were sitting on that set on that draft night in Dallas, right, where Mayfield goes first and then Darnold goes second, Allen third, Rosen, and then Lamar last. If I had told you that one of those quarterbacks was going to be the one that will lock horns with Mahomes for the rest of their careers, obviously Mahomes wasn't Mahomes yet, but let's just say somebody's going to be locking horns with another young stud quarterback. Would you have chosen Allen for that point in time?
I think I remember during that draft night, and I should have had him up higher, obviously, as everybody should have. But I remember distinctly saying the potential that he had was different than everybody else. And, I mean, Mahomes was kind of the comparison for him coming out, if you remember going back to that year, just because, okay, he was a little bit raw. He wasn't fully cooked. But, man, the upside, you can dream on the upside for him. And he's gotten there. And I think that's something that's a great discussion point with those two quarterbacks to look at that game. I don't think we've ever seen quarterbacking at that high of a level with two guys. I've never seen it in my lifetime at that level for those two guys. I think they each rushed for like 70 yards on top of everything else that they did. It was just two unicorns going at it. But I think if you take a step back, Rich, as great as they are, those guys did not enter the league as what you see right now. Those guys, Patrick Mahomes, they waited a year for him to train him up and get him ready to go. Josh Allen struggled mightily early on. But what they did is they gave him some consistency, some continuity. They had guys around him that knew what they were doing. They loaded up with playmakers around him, and those guys put in the work, but the talent has come out of these guys. They didn't arrive as these finished products. There's been a lot that's gone into that. And I think you look around the league and see some of these other organizations where they're changing coaches every year or two, and these poor young quarterbacks don't have a stinking chance.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'll ask you the fill-in-the-blank question. I don't usually go this style, but I'll do it. The Green Bay Packers got one and done this year because you finish it. Why?
Well, I'm going to need two words because I'm going to need special and teams. I'm going to need both of them. That was the game. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm happy for him. That's great. It's a cool story. But he didn't do anything. They scored 3 points offensively. That was, and people say Rodgers. Well, you know what? I'd like to see all the people that have played in that type of weather, how easy it is to play quarterback in that position that they're in that weather. It came down to the special teams, and it was so lopsided in that game, and they stunk the whole year. I mean, I guess we probably should have seen that coming, but I'm fascinated with Rodgers going forward, Rich, because here's a question for you.
Yep.
If you gave Aaron Rodgers the choice before that game and said, okay, you can play the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, or you can play them in Green Bay, I contend he would have chosen to play that game in San Francisco. Their team's built for San Francisco. San Francisco's team's built for Green Bay. Like, right. It's kind of a problem that they've been running into. Bucky gave us a stat on our production meeting this morning. I think Packers are like 7-7 in the last 14 home games at Lambeau Field, where they used to never lose there. They've built a passing team around an MVP passing quarterback, and your reward for having the best individual season and the best team season is that you get to play your games in an environment that doesn't fit your team.
So is that that's a Gutekunst problem, and Rodgers, in your estimation, doesn't hold any of this bag, Daniel?
No. I mean, look, he didn't play well. Absolutely. He did not, he held the ball on the sacks. You can go back and watch him. Some of them, he could have got the ball out and done some things differently. I just think I think Aaron Rodgers, if people say Aaron Rodgers is going to try and leave Green Bay, I think it'll get framed as Aaron Rodgers is trying to get away from Brian Gutekunst, is trying to get away from the Green Bay Packers. In my opinion, I think he'd be trying to get the heck out of that weather.
So where do you think his best fit is? Pittsburgh plays in that sort of weather. Denver's not like, the beach. I'm the Dolphins. I mean, would he really think that that's the best way? Because he said he doesn't want to be part of any rebuild. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I don't know wherever Aaron Rodgers goes that it's a rebuild, I think Tom Brady kind of proved that too, right? You drop in a superstar quarterback. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They went from having the first pick in the draft to being in the conference championship game. That's what a premier quarterback can do for your team.
Daniel Jeremiah here. Yeah, I'm sorry, Daniel Jeremiah here.
No, it'll be fascinating, Rich. I don't know where the perfect spot is for him. I don't know. I know a couple people in the league called me and said, "Oh, wait a second, is Brady gonna retire and somehow Tampa's gonna end up with Rodgers?" I'm like, I don't know.
I didn't even think about that.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if Green Bay is trading him with to Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? Like because again, it's not free agency. It's not like, again, we have to remember Rodgers does not have the same freedom of choice that Brady did, a couple of years ago.
Can I do you a favor though, Rich, just from a branding radio standpoint?
Yes, sir.
You're on Baywatch.
Hey now.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Some people stand in the dark.
That makes me the Hasselhoff of this, correct?
You're not the Pamela Anderson, I can tell you that.
Oh, very good. Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is, I guess when it's all said and done, Bengals were right to take Chase instead of Penei Sewell. That was something we were talking about at length in Cleveland last year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I've got plenty of them wrong. We could spend hours and hours going over that, but that one was one we had talked about, and I think we were right on in terms of that he's just such a special player and take the best available player. And then that draft was pretty deep in the offensive line. Now, I don't know if they necessarily picked the right offensive lineman with that second-round pick in Jackson Carman, but the theory is right. And, man, that kid he's unbelievable. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And you go back and look at that. I went back and, you kind of look at that previous game they had against the Chiefs. What do you have? I think he had 260-something yards against them. So we'll see that rematch. And the last image I have of the Chiefs pass defense is Gabriel Davis parking Hughes on his backside without touching him. So that's going to be a fascinating game. If the Bengals pass protection, which was awful and has been awful for a little while now, if they can hold up, Burrow has another big game. But, man, that game is going to be decided solely on that offensive line, how they play, to give him time to get the ball to Chase, because they can't cover those wide receivers if Burrow has a little time.
Why is Burrow this good so quickly, do you think?
I think he, you talk about three keys in quarterbacks with, poise, accuracy, decision making. I think he's off the charts in those three areas. And I don't know that I've seen, I'm racking my brain trying to think of one. You can say, okay, you've seen more talented quarterback in the NFL. I don't think I've ever seen a more confident quarterback at this age, it's unbelievable the amount of confidence this kid plays with.
You're not talking about his glasses choice after the game either, right?
Bold choice, Cotton, but I'm okay with that. I mean, that kind of speaks to that.
Too.
Yeah, and it is a thought here that I have, and I will ask it, even though this is kind of sports talk radio, but we're on it right now, that this weekend showed, certainly with Stafford doing something that the Rams were hoping he could do, and boy, has he done it, right? And we saw Mahomes and Allen go at it, and Jimmy G did win a playoff game, even though he didn't have an offensive touchdown, beating the maybe MVP of the league. But that Burrow's performance showed as well that you need to have somebody very special at quarterback to not only win now, but for a sustained amount of time. Is Tannehill the right guy in Tennessee? Do you think they're going to make some choices on that front in Tennessee this year?
I think there's a lot of guys that don't necessarily pass the confetti test, Rich, where I can't envision the confetti falling on their shoulders. I've kind of said, what we've been saying for a while now, for the last month or so on our podcast. I said, look, you need, with the collection of stud quarterbacks we have in the league right now, you got to have one to have a chance. Or it's either, there's one caveat. You can have Kyle Shanahan as your play caller with, Hall of Fame left tackle, Hall of Fame tight end, one of the best receivers in the NFL, potentially Hall of Fame defensive end, Hall of Fame linebacker. I mean, if you don't have a roster that good and you have Kyle Shanahan calling plays, then maybe that's the exception. But outside of that, you've got to have one of those dudes. That's why I think this was like a temperature check for the rest of the league, particularly the AFC. And if you went to bed after that game last night and you weren't the general manager of those two teams that played, or if you weren't in Cincinnati, or if you weren't Tom Telesco with Justin Herbert, man, I don't know that you slept very well.
I love it. Are there any kids this year that have that ability? What do you think? Or this is not the year for it?
No, I don't think so. But one of the things is you watch that, and I'm sitting here going, okay, I've got a long time to sort all these guys out. But Malik Willis from Liberty is a kid who is really, really, really raw. Didn't have a lot around him, and you can find some real, some bad tape late in the year, and you can kind of be a little bit down on him. And then you watch these games, and you're like, but I don't know, man. This he is a great athlete. He has got a huge arm. He kind of flashes some of those plays. There's a risk involved, no doubt, but man, at least you've got the hope. You can dream on what he can be. I think that's going to help him through the draft process.
So now that you see the Final Four here, it's amazing, man. Mahomes is the OG, right? I mean, he's the one who's got 4 straight starts in the championship game to start his career, and Brady and Rodgers are out for the first time since 2009 of a championship round, and Mahomes is the OG. Stafford and Burrow on opposite ends of, I guess, the experience record overall, making their first starts, and Jimmy G his second start after everything that happened with Trey Lance. What do you think with the Final Four, Daniel? I'll give you the floor here.
Yeah, I think health. I really think health is going to be a big part of this thing. Especially in that Rams 49er game. You look at what the Rams did with Tristan Wirfs out of the lineup. They just overwhelmed them with that pass rush. And, I just kind of said it when the Von Miller trade was made. Don't even look at Von Miller during the regular season. He knows how many bullets he has left in his gun. He's going to save those for the playoffs. And sure enough, you've seen him really dial it up. So if Trent Williams is not healthy for the 49ers, that is a huge loss. So keeping an eye on that one in that game. And then you go over to the other game. Again, I just kind of come down to that offensive line, for Kansas City or for Cincinnati, how well they can play. I know Mahomes is going to go up and down the field. They're going to score points. And I do feel like in giving Josh Allen his flowers for how incredible he was in that game, I almost feel like, man, we need to make sure in the same breath just appreciate that Mahomes. I mean, holy cow, he's just unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and Burrow, though, has a chance to do something very special here. Right? I mean, how many times he's put his card down on the table now twice in his first 2 career playoff starts, and the fact that he took 9 shots like that and other shots, but and he kept firing away, and he still had over 300 yards passing. I guess last one for you for the Bengals fans out there, the scheme. I mean, what did you think? I mean, there didn't seem to be a lot of hot routes and things like that. Do you think that we might see a different game plan going into the AFC Championship game there? Daniel?
Well, I watched it this morning, Rich.
Okay.
And if it was just one guy, I could say, okay, we got to help him out. I mean, that Tennessee Titans front is Super Bowl caliber. That wasn't their issue. I mean, they whipped them up and down the line of scrimmage. So that's going to be tough for them to solve with some type of a scheme. I mean, that's going to be the concern. The only thing I would say there, if you were going to print shirts off of that Bengals Titans game, Rich, is sacks are cool, turnovers are cooler. So three interceptions trumps 9 sacks. So that's the incredible thing, is that Burrow had the 1 pick, but for the most part, under that type of pressure, he did a good job of protecting the football.
Daniel, thanks for the time. You're the best. Let's do this again real soon. I'll see you, I guess, Sunday. I saw you in that huge promo shot of 15 people in studio on Sunday. So I'll see you for game day morning, 6 hours.
The one where Calais Campbell looks like he's 15 feet tall.
He's right behind you, right? He makes you look smaller. Yeah, it's okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, very good, Daniel. I'll run that up the flagpole. We'll get you a little better help. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
You bet.
See you, bud.
You bet. At Move the Sticks, great Daniel Jeremiah. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.